right. Let's see here. I'm trying these new filters. Whoa. All right. What's up, YouTube? Josh here, Momentum Productions. Today, we're going to be talking about some cool equipment for beginning filmmakers, advanced filmmakers, all that really, really good stuff. And I feel like you are going to be learning a lot from this live stream. Now I got to figure out how to get rid of these filters here. Okay. Anyway, so I want to start off by talking about the gear that I started off with. Why did I start off with that gear, and how it's helped my filmmaking career go up, 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 up. So first off, I didn't, as many people might not know, I didn't start off with a Red camera or a Sony camera or anything expensive. Not even a drone. No, I haven't touched a drone until 2015. So my first gear that I started off with was a little tiny camcorder. It was actually my mom's tiny camcorder. And I really didn't know anything about filmmaking. I was just bored one day. This was 6-7 years ago. Picked up the camcorder, just went outside for a walk and started shooting random things. Just a tree, grass, nothing really interesting. And I went back home, I put it onto my computer, and I just randomly, I was using Corel Movie Studio at the time, and I was just messing around with the video editing features. Now, long story short, I didn't go to film school. I didn't take any film courses or anything like that. I specifically studied off of YouTube and other online resources. You don't need to go to school for this type of stuff. The internet now is the best teacher you can have. It's better than any university you'll go to. It's better than anything. Why? Because it's accessible. It's accessible every single second of every single day. Universities, libraries, bookstores, they're not accessible as easily or as readily as the internet. Now, the only problem with the internet is finding credible sources. But fortunately enough, with enough research on forums and all this type of stuff, you can really find the appropriate people who will teach you with the credentials. For example, if you go on my website, you can look at the clients that I've worked with. Randy Jackson, Vern Troyer, Rob Riches, all these celebrities, Laura Clury, all these celebrities, Patty Stanger, all of these celebrities generated my credibility. The fact that I was able to work with them, produce for them amazing content, and continue working with them adds to my credibility, which is why I think that I'm credible enough to be showing you guys the filmmaking industry. Now, when I'm referring to the filmmaking industry, I'm not referring to, join Sony Pictures, join DreamWorks, or anything like that. No, when I'm talking about the filmmaking industry, I'm talking about being a contractor, working for yourself, only for yourself. Very rarely do I work in a team. Obviously, I will be having a team in the future, but right now, it's all me. I did everything myself. I built my YouTube channel without any help or marketing. Same thing with Facebook and my website. So it takes a lot of time. Now, we'll save that conversation for another day. Let's talk about equipment. What equipment do I recommend for starting filmmakers? Right now, if you go on eBay, you can find a Sony RX100 for dirt cheap. Great video camera, but it doesn't look professional. So you can't show up with a wedding with an RX100 and expect people to be like, oh, that person's a professional videographer. No. So if you're looking for that form factor to make you seem like a professional videographer, you're probably going to have to go with the 5D Mark II. I personally own the Canon 5D Mark II, and I absolutely loved it. Unfortunately, I had to upgrade my gear eventually, and I sold the 5D Mark II and got the Sony Alpha Series cameras. So right now for the 5D Mark II, you can find on eBay for dirt cheap, probably $600-700 bucks. Drone Journey, iPhone 7, an Osmo Mobile, and a Phantom 4 Pro, then you're all set. Unfortunately, no, you're not all set, my friend. iPhone 7, nope. Osmo Mobile, nope. You cannot... these technologies do not give you good enough image quality. You cannot compare a Sony RX100 to an Osmo Mobile. You cannot compare an Osmo Mobile to a Sony Alpha Series camera. You cannot. The sensor is completely different. More powerful processing. So here's the biggest misconception, and I think I made a video about this maybe about a year or two ago about 4K and what it really means. Okay, great. Yeah, we're going to talk about the GH5 in a minute. So when we're talking about 4K, what does 4K mean? 4K is 4 times the resolution of regular HD, which is 1080p. So companies like DJI are making really cheap products like the DJI Mobile, DJI Osmo Mobile, which is meant for a consumer, right? So you pick up the mobile, it shoots in 4K, great. But how do you know if it's true 4K? There's compressed 4K, which is, if you zoom in 4 times, you're going to get very soft subjects, or you're going to get very bad artifacting. What you need to look for is cameras that have the ability to shoot 4K RAW, or at least close to RAW. So when we're talking about 4K, when Apple says they made the iPhone 7 4K capable, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's really 4K. You can't zoom in 400 times on an iPhone 7 and expect picture clear quality, perfect clear quality. You're not going to get that out of an iPhone 7. So it's not really 4K. All right. Let's just keep that in mind. And now let's talk about future-proofing your gear. So for example, the average household in America still has standard definition TVs. So you have to keep that in mind. Not a lot of people have HD TVs and 4K TVs. Okay, sorry, let me answer this question. But if you're filming a wedding, as you said, the iPhone 7 is okay. No, iPhone 7 is not okay to shoot a wedding. No way. No way. No, I'm not even gonna get into it. You can't shoot a wedding with an iPhone 7. You can't. You don't have any All right, let me just keep going. Yeah, I want to bet. You can't shoot the quality from an iPhone 7 cannot compete with a Sony Alpha camera. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going. I'm not gonna get into an argument here with an iPhone 7. So anyway, let's keep going with our talk here. Okay. Woo! Got heated for a second. Anyway, so when we're talking about camera quality, like regards to 4K and compression and all that stuff, like I said, if you zoom in 400 times on an iPhone 7 4K picture, you're not gonna get that crisp and clear footage. However, DJI offers RAW cameras such as the X5S RAW and X5, I believe it's the X5S, X5R as well. These are RAW cameras, right? No compression necessary. This is generally what comes out of the sensor, boom, right onto the card, right onto the SD card. And that means that you can literally shrink you can zoom into the image as much as you want, about 4 times, and still get crisp, clear imaging. So average people don't even have HD high definition TVs yet. However, everything is slowly moving to the internet. Eventually, we're going to get rid of TVs. We're not going to have TVs anymore. Everything's going to be just based off of the internet. Our TV, when I mean by TV, I mean TV providers. That's why smart TVs, every TV you buy right now is going to be a smart TV, because we got Netflix, Hulu, all that stuff. How difficult is it to stream 4K on the internet? It's difficult. It's very, very difficult because you got to have high download speeds. So right now, if you're trying to future-proof yourself, focus on 1080p. No one's gonna have 4K for the next 10 years at least. Okay, nobody. Very, very few people have 4K TVs. So I think 1080p is going to be the new standard. It's not the new standard yet. People are still shooting in standard definition, but HD will slowly become the standard for private work. If I were you, I would already be shooting in HD. If you have the capabilities, if you have the camera gear, the processing power in your computer to handle HD footage, you shoot in HD. So now let's get into the GH5. Currently, I own the GH4. Beautiful camera. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Honestly, I prefer my Sony Alpha cameras better, more because it's just low light sensitivity and full frame sensor, you know, outperforms the GH4 in my opinion. But as a starting camera, you know, it's really well priced. The GH4 and the GH5. That's a great starting camera as well for filmmakers. You get a nice lens, nice Lumix lens. With the Panasonic GH5, you're going to get beautiful image quality. However, you're not going to get great low light capabilities. And the cropped sensor, in my opinion, I don't like crop sensors. Would I be correct in saying that all DSLRs shoot in 1080p these days? Yes, you would be. I don't think there's any DSLR now that doesn't shoot 1080p. Very few shoot 4K though. Not that many shoot in 4K. One question. What camera are you using to stream tonight? I'm sure this guy's gonna like my answer. I'm using the iPhone 7 to stream. I'm sure he's gonna like that answer. So anyway, let's talk about how, just because I'm streaming with the iPhone 7, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's a streaming camera. So, you can't compare, again, I'm going to say it again, you can't compare an iPhone 7 camera to a Sony Alpha camera. You can't. So let's talk about budgets. Starting off, obviously I had no money. No money. I maybe had $200 or $300 to my name. I know that's money, but when you're talking about going into the work of filmmaking, it's no money. How did I make the right investment? So my first semi-pro camcorder, after I sold that little camcorder I had from my mom, I got rid of it. As soon as I was able to rustle up a couple $100 and build some sort of credit, I bought the Canon XF100. This was the first camcorder of its size to shoot professional video. You would take a look at its bit rate. I think it was 24 megabit rate, which was very good at the cameras for that time, for that price range. I forgot how much I spent on it, maybe just under $1,000. So that was my first professional camcorder. Then I sold that. I bought the Canon XF305, which is a TV standard camera. So this is the type of camera they would use on BBC Network. You know, they would shoot Top Gear with this camera. That was probably the worst decision of my filmmaking career, to invest in the Canon XF305. I constantly had vignetting problems with it. I constantly had battery problems with it. Low light was god awful on that camera. The Canon XF305 was just really, really bad about low light. And we'll pause that conversation. I like this question. Could you talk more about shooting our first wedding? Okay. Can you ask that question again? It disappeared. Let me try and find it on my laptop here. But ask that wedding question one more time. I like these kinds of specific questions. So let me see if I can pull it up here again. I don't like how the comments just disappear on me like that. But let me try and find it. Give me 1 second, guys. If you can ask the question again, I would really appreciate it, because the comment just disappeared. I can't find it anymore. Could you talk shooting our first wedding, minimal equipment, what to expect? Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Okay, minimal equipment. Now, there's two parts to a wedding, right? Two parts to a wedding. You got the ceremony, you got the reception, right? Ceremony is basically, you got the priest there, wedding groom, and you got, bridesmaids, all that stuff. Basic gear you need. At least a Pro DSLR like a 5D Mark II with a decent lens. Maybe a kit lens 28 to 135 is the kit that I used to shoot my first wedding. Right, I used that. Tripod. You definitely need a lavalier microphone. So to shoot your first wedding, you need quite a bit of gear. I would say you need at least 2 cameras, 2 tripods, microphone, and even a Steadicam. But if you really want to break it down, I guess you could get away with 1 camera, because I've used only 1 camera on a wedding before. The results weren't as great as I thought they would be, simply because 1 camera can only get... thank you, Alex. I'll answer that in a sec. I think that using 1 camera is not that great, because with 2 cameras you get more perspectives. 1 camera will definitely miss out on something else that's going around. Okay. Alex mentioned to use a glide cam instead of a monopod. Yes, I hate static shots. I love dynamic movements. So a glide cam, what it really allows you to do is to slowly pan, tilt, do whatever. Monopods are good for steadying the camera if you're using it for static shots. So when you're using a monopod, obviously you're not going to be moving around too much. When you're using a glide cam, you're going to be walking, you're going to be running, you're going to be doing all these sorts of things. So each of them have their own functions. If you plan on being static, use a monopod. If you plan on moving around, use a glide cam. No one likes to see shaky footage, so use a glide cam for moving around. And, another question I got asked was, what do I think about the T3i? Honestly, I never liked the Canon Rebel series. Never used them, but I've tried them out. They feel cheap, they look cheap, and I just don't like the Rebels. However, that is the basic camera that all YouTubers are using now. They're getting pretty good picture quality out of it. I'm not used to using a Rebel. I'm used to using a 5D. That's my camera of choice when it comes to Canon. I made the move from Canon to Sony, so that's what it is. Exactly, 1 camera, never, at least 2. Yep, always use at least 2 cameras. But I did get away with shooting with 1 camera before. Was not really too happy with the result, but 2 cameras are always better than 1. That way you can get 1 camera, set it up, shoot it on the audience. 2nd camera, shoot it on the bride and groom with the priest under the altar, all that sort of stuff. It's good to get both perspectives. But again, if you're using 2 cameras, it's always better to have somebody there working with you, monitoring the 2nd camera. Even if it's on a tripod, something could go wrong with the SD card and the camera can just stop recording. And you'll never know that unless you have the 2nd person monitoring it. So I would never recommend shooting a wedding by yourself. Because if something goes wrong with one of the cameras and you desperately needed the footage from that camera, you're going to be screwed, because then you're going to end up refunding your client and getting a bad name for yourself. So weddings can be very scary. They can be terrifying. If you don't have the appropriate people working with you, it can be very, very bad. And sound has to be perfect. It really does, because the vows are being read. You need to hear everyone's voice perfectly. However, if the sound does go bad, in certain times, you have the option of doing voiceovers. Obviously, the clients are not going to enjoy doing that because it's not the real voices, but the actual voices at that time, it's still a possibility to do a voiceover. But the mics that I strongly suggest that you get, Sennheiser G3, Rode Filmmakers lavalier kit. I have 2 Sennheiser G3s and a Rode Filmmaker lavalier kit. I also have the Rode Stereo Video Mic Pro, Rode NTG2, and a Zoom H6. Zoom H6, excellent recorder, has also a built-in mic. But I plug in all of my microphones into that recorder, and that honestly guarantees me beautiful sound. Alex Peterson, if we have a ZH1, does that guarantee us nice sound? Honestly, I haven't used the ZH1. Let me look at it really quick. Maybe I do know it, I just don't know the name. Zoom H1. Oh, I know this one. Honestly, mounted onto a camera. Oh, with a lav mic. Yeah, I think you would be good. Yeah, definitely. Zoom H1 is a great little handy recorder. I use the H6 because it has a more powerful mic and more sensitive mic, and it just has more features. But if you have the Z1, use it, it's good, but eventually you would probably have to upgrade to the H6 or H5. But yeah, definitely use as many times as it allows you. If it allows you, I just lost my train of thought, forgive me for that. If you can use a Z1, if that's your only way of recording audio, do it, but make sure that if you have it, use it with your lav mic. I cannot stress enough how much better sound sounds like when you hook up your lav mic into a recorder rather than just straight into the camera. It's always better to hook it up directly into the recorder hooks up directly into the DSLR. You will obviously need to learn how to sync sound afterwards, but that shouldn't be a problem. There's software that helps you sync with sound. Final Cut does it. A company called Red Giant does it using a program called Pluralize. So that should be cool. I use Pluralize. It's a great program. It really syncs up sound and camera angles very quickly. Yeah. So that's my take on audio. If you guys have any more questions, let me know. I think that I've answered all of your questions so far. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I'm going to do more of these. It's already been 23 minutes. I can't believe how time flew. I've got to get to some editing. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and answer them for you. And I'll give you my honest opinion on all that good stuff. Alright, I will do more, Alex. Thank you. I hope I answered your question or questions. Alright, bye guys. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.